Well, it's Friday, and it's also March, which is a very active time of year weather-wise. Thanks for coming over and watching the video today, guys. We're looking at a couple of systems, many moving parts. This big low here, just south of Alaska, that's cranking up. We've also got this weak system that's moving across the country. And check this low out that's wrapping up here just northeast of Maine. That's bringing a lot of wind to the northeast right now. Now, something to keep in mind, I think you got to watch as we head into next week for these systems to crash into the West Coast. That's what I'm keeping an eye on anyway, because especially as we get into March, you typically start to see the change of seasons. Clearly, that's happening right now. Many of you warmer than you've been in a while. Some of you are on the way down. But with these wild temperature swings also comes a lot of energy too as we heat the atmosphere up in March. Now we're dealing still with this lingering cold air from the remnants of winter as we get into late March and really mid-March too. And when these two air masses collide, clearly things can happen. And we're going to take a look at that today. This is big picture. We're looking into next week. We've got this upper low that's going to swing into the southwest. But I'm telling you, I'm watching this right here. The potential for a strong storm next week still looking like it's in the picture here. As this trough crashes into the west coast, I think it's going to bring a lot of heavy rain and snow. And the question is, what happens after this? Well, at this point, it looks like a storm was going to form somewhere here in the central part of the country. For the east, if you're hoping for a big snowstorm, that's not the storm you want to see. This is not the setup, but this could be a very strong storm with maybe severe weather. We're still looking at about a week away. Still some time to plan for this and to even track it. So it's still pretty far out, but this is really impressive looking. This would put blizzard conditions on the northwest side of it. And again, I think some severe weather, maybe further north than what we saw with the last storm. So something to keep an eye on for sure. There is going to be some heavy snow through today, tonight, across northern parts of Arizona, especially up here into the mountains near Payson, up towards Flagstaff. And then that spreads east into parts of North Texas, into the panhandle here of Oklahoma, where we could see several inches. A couple of winter storm warnings out, winter weather advisories too here. And then this snow across Nebraska, Iowa, that pushes east and starts to wrap up. Now, heading into Saturday, there's going to be some severe weather across the south, mainly here into East Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, along the Gulf Coast. As our upper low that's bringing that snow to New Mexico and Texas pushes east. It's windy across the northeast. If you're here, you know what I'm talking about. Winds will continue to gust today. We're talking about 40 to 50 miles per hour, maybe even a little bit more. Pretty impressive looking. That will start to calm down as we move through the evening hours into the overnight. It will still remain gusty, though. I mean, across many of these areas with winds 20, 30, and especially across the northeast, gusting over 40. And then much calmer conditions here from the Tennessee Valley and in areas further to the west. Let's take a closer look at these systems, and we'll track the weather out day by day for you here. There's the snow across the Rockies. That's the next storm that's really going to move in next week. But let's go through today. That upper low spinning here. We've got more snow into parts of Colorado too, and there it goes into Texas. A weak system is going to bring some showers to the Appalachians. It could mix with some snow into parts of West Virginia. And still, again, windy and cold in the northeast with snow showers, especially into the interior areas up into the mountains. A little bit of light snow possible early on, I should say late Saturday night into Sunday, especially here into parts of Oklahoma and Texas. It's going to be so marginal here with temperatures very close to freezing. It's not going to be a huge snowstorm by any stretch. And if anything, this is starting to fill in and weaken as it moves to the east. But as we head into Saturday, out ahead of this, warm and unstable, so there could be some severe weather. And enough wind shear, I think, as this moves east that there could be a few isolated tornadoes. Not a major risk, but something to be weather aware of as we head into the weekend. And then high pressure building across the Great Basin into the weekend, drier conditions, and then another system slams into the northwest with heavy rain and snow. This weak system could bring some light snow into northern parts of New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and then into parts of Ontario. Maybe a little bit of snow out of this as it kicks to the east, and then our showers move off to the east, bringing wet weather into Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, maybe even parts of North Carolina as we head into now Monday. Quiet heading into Monday for a lot of the country. However, this stubborn upper low, I say stubborn because they're very difficult to forecast, moving into California. Still looks like it's going to do that heading into the early part of next week. It's going to bring some rain and snow here. And then a weak system across the northern Rockies, also across the prairie, is going to bring a little bit of light rain and snow. Now, here comes the big storm into next week. This is the European. I showed you the GFS earlier. This is sort of just for some comparison. The big global models in pretty much lockstep through next week. Sure, there's going to be some small differences, but both of them picking up on the idea that this Large trough is going to swing into the west coast, and then the question is, where does surface low pressure develop? At this point, both models show it developing here on the lee side of the Rockies, putting some heavy snow into South Dakota, Nebraska, into North Dakota. Still some time to go before we get here. This would be a huge wind maker too. Now we're into next weekend, so I'm going to let this go out. Keep in mind, this is an operational run. I like to look at ensemble guidance once we get out this far, which takes 51 members and averages it out. But just for kicks, what would happen? Well, the operational run from last night pushes our storm into Canada, and then after this, sort of a wavy pattern, right? So amplified, another system potentially moving here into the west, heading into next week, or into the week following that, and that could bring some more active weather. So I think March is going to remain active. Snow over the next couple of days. Looking again impressive across northern Arizona, parts of the Four Corner states here into Colorado, New Mexico. Some of that spreading into Texas and Oklahoma. Not much, though. Once you get to Oklahoma City, those numbers really falling off to almost nothing, mostly rain here. And there's some snow here across, again, Nebraska, Iowa, spreading east into parts of Wisconsin into Michigan. Not a lot, less than an inch in many of these areas. These are official forecast numbers from the National Weather Service, so you get the idea. A little bit further to the east, let's track some of this precipitation out a little bit closer here. There's that snow into Iowa, moving into southern parts of Wisconsin and northern parts of Illinois into Michigan as we head into this afternoon and this evening. Again, not a huge snow event, but it could cause some impacts, especially if you can get in a quick burst of some snow. And then that continues to slide off to the east into Pennsylvania. Parts of West Virginia, a little bit of snow here, but mostly rain here. Again, from southern Indiana, southern Illinois, south into Texas, scattered showers across Tennessee and Kentucky. And now we look into Saturday. There's that snow that we could see here into the mountains of West Virginia, maybe into southwest Virginia. Not a lot out of that for sure. And then the severe weather risk goes up here across East Texas, down into Louisiana, Arkansas, as our upper low swings to the east. A lot of wind shear out ahead of this. So I think there is the potential to see some tornadoes. Again, as I said earlier, just because of all of that wind shear. And look at this. Do you see this? How about that? I mean, I don't think we're going to see a lot of snow out of it, but the NAM model picking up on the idea that there's going to be enough cold air aloft that we flip over to a little bit of snow, maybe across central Arkansas. I don't know that we do that into the mountains there. Yes, the Ozarks. Again, it's going to be very tough to see much snow here just because of the temperatures. All right. Let's widen things out again, and we'll sort of zoom in on the GFS here nationwide one more time, comparing it to the European. I know we looked at North America at the wide view here, but again, the storm next week, this is the one I think we've got to watch late next week. It could be a strong one, and it could really wrap up. It's March, and beyond this, the GFS just goes bonkers and does these crazy things, which it will do. So I'm going to caution you as I think back to my TV days when I was doing meteorology there. You start hearing from viewers going, "Oh my gosh, did you see the storm 2 weeks from now?" I'm like, "Yeah, did you see one run of the GFS model? Because it's showing a freaking blizzard blowing up." And then look, I want to show you something. If you go back to last night's run, this is the same time frame. Where'd it go? Operational runs 2 weeks out, throw it out with the bathwater. But when you're within this 1 week time frame and you start to see agreements that we're going to get something really wrapping up, you start to pay attention. I'm shopping, and I'm definitely paying attention to this one. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Hope you have a great Friday.